What is good, my peoples? Back at it. WTF. Who the fuck? And today, we asked the question, who the fuck was Gene Brito of the Washington Redskins? Before Deacon Jones, before Reggie White, before Lawrence Taylor, there was Gene Brito, a player so dominant that presidents admired him, fans adored him, and opponents, they feared him. Yet today, one of the greatest defensive ends of the 1950s is pretty much forgotten. Born in Los Angeles in 1925, Gene Brito was a true all-around athlete. At Loyola University of Los Angeles, he excelled in football, baseball, basketball, and track. Before his NFL career even began, he served as an Army paratrooper in the Pacific during World War II. By the time he reached professional football, he wasn't just talented, he was battle-tested. Most fans remember Gene Brito as defensive end, when many don't realize is that he entered the NFL as an offensive end. In his first 2 seasons with Washington, he caught 45 passes and showed enough athletic ability that he could have become one of the league's premier pass-catching ends. Tight end, and he would have been great. At a time when offenses barely threw the football, those numbers were impressive. But Washington saw something even bigger. They moved him to defensive end, and everything changed. The moment Gene Brito moved to defense, he became one of the most feared players in professional football. His combination of quickness, leverage, toughness, and relentlessness made him nearly impossible to block. He wasn't the biggest defensive end, he wasn't the heaviest, but he may have been the most ruthless. From 1955 through 1958, Brito was selected first-team All-Pro 4 straight seasons and became a 5-time Pro Bowler. He was regularly being selected ahead of many players who would later enter the Hall of Fame. Gene Brito became the most popular Redskin of his era. He even hosted the Gene Brito Show, making him one of the first NFL players ever to host his own television program. Think about that. Long before social media and endorsement empires, Gene Brito was already a football celebrity. His popularity reached the highest levels of government. President John F. Kennedy reportedly considered Brito his favorite Redskin player. Years later, President Richard Nixon publicly stated that Gene Brito belonged in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. In 1955, Brito reached the peak of his career. The Washington, D.C. Touchdown Club named him NFL Player of the Year. Think about how remarkable that is. A defensive end winning Player of the Year honors in an era dominated by quarterbacks and running backs. His strengths were obvious: explosive first step, incredible toughness, outstanding pursuit, elite pass rushing ability, natural leadership. His only real weakness was his size. At 6'1" and 226 pounds, he was undersized compared to many linemen that he faced. But he compensated with technique, leverage, and determination, and continued beating the top offensive tackles. Then came one of the saddest stories in NFL history. Shortly after his retirement, Brito began suffering from symptoms of ALS, the devastating disease later associated with Lou Gehrig. The condition progressed rapidly, and on June 8, 1965, Gene Brito passed away at just 39 years old. Football lost a legend far too soon. Gene Brito finished his career as a 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, NFL Player of the Year, Washington Ring of Fame member, and one of the greatest defensive ends of the 1950s. Yet many fans have never heard of him. Maybe that's why Gene Brito's story matters, because some legends aren't forgotten because they weren't great. They're forgotten because not enough people tell their story, and Gene Brito's story deserves to be remembered. The offensive star who became a defensive legend in the face of the Washington football team. Induct this man into the Hall of Fame.